Howdy, Prakuza here. No big intro today. I'm kind of going off the cuff to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. Because I tried the beta, and it's peak. And I want to share that peakness with all the Dark Souls fans that are subscribed to the channel. Or if this winds up going outside of my normal bubble of content, express to all the other Monster Hunter fans that yes, you should absolutely try the beta, and you should probably absolutely get the game when it comes out. Now, on this channel, I'm mostly a Dark Souls creator. I've got a lot of videos about DS1, some Bloodborne, some Elden Ring, but outside of the channel, I am a pretty big fan of the Monster Hunter series. I've tentatively been playing since Monster Hunter 2, although that's very misleading. I played a little bit of Monster Hunter 2 at a friend's house as a kid. I played Monster Hunter Tri at my own house, all the way through the offline and online versions of the game. But I skipped all of the handheld games all the way up until World. So the most experience I have is in Tri, World, and Rise. Although in World alone, I think I have somewhere around 1,000 hours of playtime. So yeah, big fan of these games, especially the most recent ones that Capcom's been putting out. And Monster Hunter Rise looks like it's going to be my new latest addiction. Like, I can't imagine myself actually prying off of that game once it finally releases. But you might also be wondering, hey, he said the Dark Souls fans are going to like it. Well, from a very limited purview, you could call this a Souls-like game. Or at least it's Souls-y adjacent enough that if you like Dark Souls, I can guarantee you're probably going to like Monster Hunter. It's got dodges, it's got a stamina bar, it's got big ol' weapons, it's got big ol' monsters, it's got blocking, and most importantly, it's got jolly cooperation. Janky, jolly cooperation, about as janky as Dark Souls, but hey, you can still play with friends or randos if you choose. But if I'm looking at Wilds specifically, and why I'm saying that this beta is peak, as opposed to saying that World or Rise were peak, which at the time, yeah, 100% they were. Well, World was. Rise was very good, but Rise felt like it was being held back for coming out on Switch in 2021. It may have done a little better if it had initially launched and been developed as a next-gen console game, or had gone straight to PC, but considering that there is a huge fan base of Monster Hunter on Nintendo consoles, I completely understand why Rise went to Switch. Again, I skipped out all of the handheld games from Tri to World, but there's like 10 of those. It's a pretty wild ride from the Wii to the PS4. Anyway, Wilds. How it be? Well, I had a lot of fun with it. Currently in the beta, there's about 4 fights that you can do, and each of them showcases a different type of wyvern that you can fight. These include the Chadacabra, the Dashaguma, the Balahara, and Raidao, who seems to be not exactly the flagship for the entire game, but definitely the big boy to fight when it comes to the beta. Raidao is definitely one where you're going to want to get your build ready with the limited resources you have to actually put a build together with. But some of these other ones, I absolutely love the inclusion of. Chadacabra, for one, feels like a real easy version of Rajang, and while I'm not exactly saying I wanted an easier Rajang, it is nice to get like a multi-level difficulty for that same archetype of fight. I hope we get weaker versions of that same archetype and then stronger versions of that same archetype. I know I love being able to dodge that lightning blast Rajang does, but I think it's nice to see this type of fight get included more, especially since most of the enemies in World and Rise were either a raptor or bird wyvern, brute wyvern, or winged wyvern. And then, of course, there's the Elder Dragons, which have their own kind of unique typeset, apart from the others. Although, again, going against the idea that there's only like 3 archetypes to fight in the Monster Hunter series, there's also Doshaguma, who I believe I'll have on screen fighting right now. He fights a lot more like the Honey Bear from Rise. I don't exactly remember what I think those were called Beast Wyverns. I looked it up, they're called Fanged Beasts, not even Wyverns. Then there's the Balahara, a Leviathan type. Think your Lagiacrus or Ludroth. Although instead of fighting them in the water, they dive and sink into the sand. Although the crown jewel of the beta is definitely Raidao. He's easily the hardest of the 4 fights, and I believe it's an Elder Dragon. It could be a winged wyvern, or flying wyvern, I think is what they call it. But he seems to not be affected by traps, which leads me to believe that it might be an Elder Dragon. Either way, absolute awesome fight. That thing was so much fun to fight. He's got all these weird, intricate attacks that like use his lightning. He'll blast you from a distance with like these little charged attacks that gives you a decent amount of warning if you're watching him that he's about to hit you with like a lightning bolt. He'll drag his wing into the ground and spark up sparks as he drags along and smacks you with it. A killer moveset. And that's the one where you're going to want to do a little bit of build crafting to get yourself to be able to actually fight him, because you're going to want a little bit of lightning resistance. And I definitely know I only survived this fight without getting carded because I had divine protection on, and without that I absolutely would have gotten killed. But yeah, this beta leads with some bombastic monster designs that really showcase the new stuff we're going to be fighting, the new stuff you're going to see in Monster Hunter Wilds. And I would suggest to anyone who's like on the fence, not sure if they have time to dip their toe into it, not sure if they want to download the beta or anything, I see it's already extremely popular. I'm not exactly championing for a tiny little game here. This isn't the LC video. This is one of the biggest games of next year already, with already millions of downloads across multiple platforms. But still, I cannot champion Wilds enough that this is exactly what I wanted from a new Monster Hunter. This is kind of what I wanted from World in the first place. And one of those things is actually from how seamless they're making transitions in this one. For one, cutscenes go straight from you're in a cutscene to you're playing the game. Like you're watching a cutscene of your character fighting one of the wyverns, and then all of a sudden you are in the fight, weapon in hand, and you're starting to take them out. Even World on like PS4 had a little bit of a, always had like a buffer. There was always like a buffer blackout screen before you go between a cutscene and the actual fighting. That especially would happen in Rise, but again, that was made for the Switch, and they did what they could with the Switch hardware. Rise is also extremely fun and available on more platforms, so you don't have to play on Switch. It's very good. That one's also a very good game. But yeah, Wilds is fantastic. It is very fun. It seems that they've gotten rid of a couple things that might have been controversial in some of the more recent games. I definitely wasn't able to like slinger myself onto a monster's face and start chopping away at it without having to really worry about getting hit in the process. Like some of those things that they added for Rise and for World seem to have been toned down to a point to make the game appeal a little bit more to veteran players, or again, for people who are watching from this channel, players who like challenging, brutally hard games. So again, Dark Souls fans as a Dark Souls fan myself, yes, I can say that all of the things I like about Dark Souls combat are here, including the playing together. My best experiences with this game have been online, either playing with friends or playing with random people, although I don't really play with randos very often because I'm extremely antisocial and introverted, wouldn't you know? But if you're looking to pick up and play and pick up and jump into a hunt with somebody else, then it's super easy to do that. If you're looking to have a ongoing gameplay experience with a friend or a group of friends, it can be up to 4 of you. It's also on the levels of Dark Souls' online content. It actually takes a little while to connect everyone together and have everyone in the same instance all at once, and then you have to do it every single time between every single hunt. And that I really do hope Capcom changes. There's time for them to streamline the because they already have like the link system, or the link party system, and they can make that a little bit better, and I'll be a lot happier. But for now, no, this game is a blast to play online, and solo queuing into it's also super fun. Boy, I hear this from a lot of fandoms, people saying, oh yeah, everyone here is super nice, and it's a very welcoming community, and they're basically saying we're not League or we're not Overwatch or whatever, whatever game is notorious for being toxic right now. I honestly don't know what's the current toxic meta game or whatever, but most people on Monster Hunter are pretty cool, and it kind of defaults you to be cool. Like if you cart while with other people, the default response for most people is don't worry about it, or it's okay. Like the game's really like leaning towards that. Some people have changed theirs, and those people can fuck off. But be cool. Carts happen. It's gonna happen. It's probably going to happen when you're fighting Raydao. I don't think I got through a single attempt on Raydao so far without somebody in the group carding. On my first attempt, I carded. On the winning attempt, another random carded. For the most part, everyone is aware that they're trying to have fun, and that's what the game is fun, and it's not the most high stakes. It's a time commitment for sure. I think the Raydao fight was 30 minutes. Which is why currently you're only seeing a very truncated version of that fight. But I honestly don't know what else to say about the game, aside from I loved it, and it's wonderful. There's kind of not enough in the beta for me to go into detail about how awesome the build craft is for Monster Hunter, how great each weapon can be in Monster Hunter. I mean, I've only been playing around in the beta with my favorite weapon, the Switch Axe. Although I am also a huge fan of the dual blades, the long sword, and the great sword. And I know a lot of people love themselves the gun lance, bow guns. My frequent hunting partner loves the charge blade, and they're all pretty sick weapons. Any of them can get the job done, and all of them have their own benefits, deficits. Oh, one thing I will say that makes this game totally awesome and really interesting compared to the other ones is the secret. It's part of what makes the whole experience so seamless. Your supply box is no longer a box that you go to at your camp. It is like the pouch on the secret, the mount. And you can get on the mount at any time, even in the middle of a fight. And it can be advantageous to, while you're fighting, get on the mount and ride it around. You can either jump off of it to try to mount the monster you're fighting, or you can use it as a chance to get away and heal. You can use it as a dodge. That doesn't work every time, because sometimes it takes a while for the mount to actually get to you. But if, for instance, Raydao is using that giant attack that can one-shot you, the big lightning strike, sometimes if you see that your secret is nearby enough, you can mount it and run away. And get to safety. So it adds a really neat dynamic to the fight, and I feel like it's kind of a great evolution of what they were starting to do with, there were some mountable, like rideable monster types in World that I think they introduced in Iceborne, and then there was the Palamut in Rise. I think this is a really great evolution of that, because the whole pack thing, the pack recharges, and it really feels like they don't want you to be playing the game the way that we were before, where we go to the hub and then we go out on a mission and then we do whatever. It feels like what they want more now is for us to sort of like go to the hub, gather up all our stuff, and then go out and explore. And at that point, we're spending all of our time on the secret and running into monsters, like as we're running around. And it's very much feels like the attempt here was to streamline the process of going from base camp to a hunt, to the point that like what previously was an expedition to go out and gather materials or go out and find random monsters exploring a locale is now, instead of going up to a board and hitting expedition and do you want to prep, blah blah blah, all that stuff, you now get on your mount and ride right out of camp. So yeah, I love the new mount system. I love the new streamlined sense of going from your prep phase in the camp to exploring, and possibly even going out and being like, all right, I'm going to fight this wyvern, and then I'm going to fight this wyvern, and then I'm going to fight that Like, it comes with a couple hiccups when it comes to the multiplayer experience. I really wish it was a little more seamless to go from like fight to fight to fight with your link party. When you leave the camp, it deloads all the other people, all the other players, and it deloads you out of their instance in the camp as well. Now, I wish it would keep your link party specifically together if you decided you wanted to go out and explore with other people. Otherwise, you have to do like an SOS or start a hunt while you're out there and get people to join you. It feels like a lot of unnecessary menuing. So that is still Monster Hunter. It's still a hassle. It's exactly as frustrating as dropping your sign in Dark Souls or Elden Ring. But I will say, worth the effort, because the game is so much better when you have someone to play with. Especially if you have someone to consistently play with. Like, finding a group of friends to play with so that every time you jump on, there's someone else on. Or you can, schedule your times for like, okay, this is our Monster Hunter day. Like, it's play with people. Play with randos. Jump in with randos. It's really fun. All right, I think that's all I really have to say about the beta. It's been kind of a rambly mess, so don't really know how to end it. So bye.